fall. Healing up. I did it.
Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash is a fighting game developed by King and Gem Drops, published by Bandai Namco, and released on February 1st of 2024. The game is based off of the popular manga and anime Jujutsu Kaisen, where characters use cursed energy to unleash radical power and exorcise monsters created from the world's fears and vexations. King also developed My Hero One's Justice 1 and 2, and Cursed Clash plays similarly with characters being able to move freely around an arena with buildings and other obstacles that can obstruct your path in battling your opponents. With the success of the manga and show, a game released at the height of Jujutsu Kaisen's success was imminent.
Domain expansion. Infinite fate.
Anime-based games lately seem to mostly be a cash grab, and even then, they prove to be a cash cow due to the rabid fan base that yearn to play as their favorite characters. Naruto, One Piece, and Dragon Ball have their fair share of good and bad fighting games. My Hero recently released Ultra Rumble, and the Demon Slayer fighting game was successful, even though I didn't care for it that much. I've seen jokes of people saying, when in doubt, release an arena fighting game when it comes to anime games, as if that's all an anime game can be. There are plenty to choose from, and most of them seem to be very watered down in certain areas of their design. Being a big fan of Jujutsu Kaisen myself, I really hoped that Cursed Clash would rise above the rest and prove everyone wrong. The story in Cursed Clash follows the multiple arcs of Jujutsu Kaisen 0 and the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen. DLC of the other arcs that will include more characters was announced in the game's launch trailer. Story mode is laid out into chapters, and in each chapter there are fights you can play. Before a battle begins, static images of characters appear on screen to relay some story plot points. Completing certain battles between certain characters gives you some completion of the relationship chart. The relationship chart is basically a large web between all of the characters and gives you rewards, like side story cutscenes and outfits, for completing them. There are also bonus missions about never-before-seen scenarios based on what characters may have been doing during a moment in the story. These could have been a really cool way to flesh out the characters, but they are all pretty boring training fights with static images talking about nothing interesting. During a fight, there are extra objectives you can do to gain rewards or Juju points that can be used in the in-game shop to buy items, outfits, and different things to customize your online card. You can gain a rank based on your performance during a battle. Playing through the story mode is a cakewalk. It's incredibly easy. There were times that I would have to replay battles to do a side objective correctly, only because I had no clue what it meant based on confusing wording. I S-ranked everything on my first try except a couple tricky 1 vs 2 battles, and even then I just went back into it and got it no problem. The very last mission is purposefully annoying and tricky to complete, but other than that, I was surprised at how uncomplicated the story mode was. The side missions in the Demon Slayer game were harder than anything here, and the ranking system seems to be a lot less strict in Cursed Clash than any fighting game I've played.
I
can take it. That's
easy enough, victory.
I was careless.
I thought that would be way more fun.
Why one again?
Just another.
The actual fighting is really fun and responsive. The gameplay may look floaty with characters fighting in the air and hanging for a second before falling, but it all feels good when you're actually playing. Each character feels unique and has their own method of playstyle, since they all have different types of powers and ways of fighting. Some characters like Yuji and Maki are up-close fighters that can hone in on their opponent to not give them a chance to strike, and other characters like Nobara and Jogo specialize in long-range attacks that can easily stun and hinder your opponent of any sort of progress. Then sometimes you might have a pair-up like Yuji and Todo, where you can just continually pummel your oppressor into the ground. No matter who you choose, it's always entertaining to see what kind of matchup you will get, and honestly pretty addicting to use your matchup of characters to strategize taking on the other matchup.
You'll be fine. Just stay close to me.
I'm going to use my full force to kill you now.
You'll mainly be playing 2 versus 2 battles where players can lock on to who they want to concentrate their efforts towards to separate them from their teammate or to tag team with theirs. Cooperation is key while fighting. I purchased this on PS5, so I'll be using PlayStation terminology when explaining the inner workings of the fighting system. Mashing square is your basic combo technique. Pressing triangle and circle unleashes your extraction technique. R1 and R2 are your curse techniques. Your extraction technique extracts curse energy and builds your curse energy gauge. If you have enough curse energy, you will land a cursed energy attack at the end of your basic combo. Having a full curse energy gauge allows you to awaken your full potential, which plays out differently for each character. Pressing both R1 and R2 buttons with a full curse energy gauge will activate your awakened move, which is usually a flashy move the character has done from the anime, or a domain expansion that gives your character buffs during the rest of the fight. You can only activate your awakened move once during the entire match.
Puppet of the Iron Mountain!
Moving the left stick and pressing square for your combo technique activates a joint attack technique, which leaves your opponent flying and gives your partner a chance to follow up on your attack, which plays a small cutscene. You can also dash around the arena, toward your opponent, or flee from a tough situation with L1. Moving the left stick while pressing L1 will make your character sidestep, which can easily give you the advantage of an attacking opponent. L2 is guard, and timing it at the perfect moment parries. You can jump, double jump, and get some distance while jumping by dashing at the same time. You can cancel out of different combos too for a more tactical style of play. The gameplay is pretty run-of-the-mill in terms of fighting games, but the unique and varied techniques and playstyles there are to play with can make these matches hectic and thrilling. Comboing and juggling an opponent with your teammate, and then while they are knocked down, running over to your other combatant to take them down, feels rewarding when done efficiently and conjointly. Each team has a team gauge, or stocks, and when a character loses all their health, the team gauge decreases. Depleting your opponent's team gauge completely, or the time running out, ends the game. You can give your partner commands like for them to be aggressive and go all in on the opponent, or you can tell them to be cooperative and make it easier to set up link combo techniques. Moving around the varied arenas is cool and provides even more judicious decisions on the player's end. By default, there is too much going on the screen, which is annoying. Tutorial inputs stay on the right until they are manually turned off. A giant needless map absorbs the bottom right corner of the screen, and during story mode, text of the characters pop up that interrupts the fights. It's incredibly abnormal.
Let's work together! Celebration of our reunion.
Besides story mode and free battle mode, there is some more nice content here. In ranked battle, you can gain different titles and increase your rank competitively, or just play with others casually in exhibition battle. There is a co-op mode called Rush Battle, where you give yourself buffs and debuffs and fight curses, gain experience, train your characters, and equip items to take down harder enemies, with the mode Survival Battle being a harder version of that. The shop is pretty extensive in the amount of items you can obtain. Some things you can buy outright, but others have an unlock requirement, like playing in online mode so many times or battling with a character in a certain amount of matches. There are titles and nicknames for your online card, different art plates for the actual card, emblems, and outfits to unlock. The outfits are all pretty atrocious though. Some characters have a couple of different actual outfits, but even then, there's not much variety between them. There are punk and sporty color variations, which are just green or blue. The monotone outfits can look pretty good on some of the characters, but after coming off of something like My Hero Wants Justice 2, the customizations and unlocks here in Cursed Clash are incredibly weak. The presentation of the game is rather poor. The main menu plays some scenes from the anime and looks like a DVD menu, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, and it is totally a vibe, but I expected something from a Jujutsu Kaisen game to be more snappy and give off more pizzazz. With how unhinged and expressive the animation of the anime is, I didn't think the main menu would feel so lazy. The free battle character select screen is abysmal, with it just being a spreadsheet, which is incredibly odd. The music from the show is another highlight of Jujutsu Kaisen. Where Our Blue Is conveys so much emotion, and the music during Sukuna vs Maharaga is so beautiful and haunting. The OST of Cursed Clash is your typical fighting game type of music. It's ordinarily fine, but nothing on par with the anime. Graphically, the game feels sort of basic, which is disappointing. Again, with something as epic as Jujutsu Kaisen, I would have liked to see a better step in direction with how the characters and scenery looks. This is the latest anime fighting game, and it looks worse or on par with previous anime fighting games. I know there is a certain quality you must uphold to give an anime game that cartoonish flair, whether it be flat colors or cel-shaded graphics or whatever. But I just feel like Cursed Clash should have had that next bump up in this department.
Made a huge miscalculation here.
I keep seeing that people say that this game is bad and isn't worth the full price of $60. I got the $100 Ultimate Edition, and here's my opinion. There are definitely things to nitpick, and some things are just simply unforgivable. There have been some online connection problems, which isn't out of the ordinary for fighting games, but it is still annoying. The story mode is very lame with still images, and it's extremely easy, and there's no challenge at all. The graphics and music are not impressive. A lot of the rewards are mediocre at best. But the game is insanely fun. It's just a fun game to play. The tactile sensation of pulling off these moves and dashing around the levels is entertaining and gratifying. In my opinion, the fighting feels more fluid compared to something like Demon Slayer, where initially it was just a bunch of people swinging swords at each other. The competitive co-op experience here works really well and adds that extra layer and skill that I've been looking for in a game like this. With that said, the other glaring problems the game has can't really be fixed, but I am looking forward to the already announced DLC to drop, so I can gain more enjoyment out of this.
You're gonna do it. I'm looking now. Be patient. I'm looking now. Be patient.
Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash has its fair share of drawbacks that may turn you off, like a plethora of presentation and design issues, but the quality of an entertaining game is here. The flow of battle feels great, and the variety of characters and their different abilities are fun to play as and use. Working together with others and collaborating with combos, joint techniques, and ultimate moves proves to scratch that hard-to-reach itch for any Jujutsu Kaisen fan. While it may be depressing that this isn't the most perfect Jujutsu Kaisen game that Jujutsu Kaisen may deserve, it's still a very fun game that has hours of content to consume. I give Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash a 5 out of 10.